Good morning, Administrator Milgram. You testified today that Americans are experiencing the most devastating drug crisis in our nation's history. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you pointed out that in 2022, more than 110,000 people in the United States lost their lives to drug poisonings, correct?
Yes.
And you also noted that fentanyl is now the leading cause of death for Americans between the ages of 18 to 45.
That's correct.
So it's precisely because I agree with you and because we are in such a crisis right now, that I find some of your priorities as DEA administrator to be puzzling, and I'm concerned about the effect of some of your personnel and contracting decisions on the capacity of the DEA to carry out its mission and the morale of DEA employees. So let's start with Louis Million, if I'm saying that correctly. Milioni. Okay, he recently resigned as second in command at DEA amid revelations that he did consulting work for Purdue Pharma. Is that correct?
What I would say, and first of all, let me say, I believe that we have the best men and women in the United States government. Mr. Milioni came back with me as the principal deputy. I asked him to come back, and he had agreed to a 2-year term of service, which he fulfilled. So I would not connect those two things.
But you did ask him to come back?
I did, yes,
And
sir.
at the time, did you know about his work for Purdue?
He informed me before he came in, yes.
He did. So you were aware that he did $600 per hour consulting work for Purdue Pharma?
Well, I wouldn't say I was aware of the specific details.
The general nature of his work.
What I understood, Congressman, is that he had done work for law firms that had prepared an expert report and while they were representing Purdue Pharma.
Well, he prepared the report. He was the expert.
Doing work for the law firms, yes.
And you know that Purdue has pleaded guilty to various criminal charges.
Yes, that's correct.
Correct. And that Mr. Milioni's report was generally favorable towards Purdue. Is that correct?
I have not reviewed the report.
Okay. But you were aware that he was hired by the firm that was representing them?
When I was nominated to come in, I asked the question of many former agents, current agents, prosecutors, who the best DEA agent in America was, and the answer I got repeatedly was Lou Milioni.
And that didn't seem like a conflict to you, his work for Purdue?
He alerted me before he came in of that work. There's a long-standing recusal process at the United States Department of Justice.
Right, but I mean,
and
just in general,
review.
you don't think it was a conflict for him to be there at all?
I believe in the recusal and ethics process at the Department of Justice. I relied on that. He was never once in any conversations or meetings related to Purdue.
Okay, let's talk about the report, the Foreign Operations Review conducted by Wilmer Hale. Why was this not done in-house?
So one of the things I found when I came in is that going back a decade or two, there had been a series of reports and internal reviews at DEA and also reviews by the Inspector General related to our foreign work. What we hadn't done is step back. We just turned 50. We hadn't stepped back in almost 50 years to ask the question, how can we do our foreign work most effectively?
You wanted an outside perspective, a more independent perspective.
We wanted the perspective of both prosecutors and law enforcement of, again, going back to the conversation.
But why did you do it outside rather than in-house? Because you wanted it to be independent.
Going back to the conversation we started this morning, so much of our work is based on foreign criminal cartels. And so we wanted individuals who understood the value of our foreign work as well as...
And you didn't have any such people in-house?
We absolutely do, and those people in-house worked with the foreign review team very closely.
Did you offer this contract as a sort of, do a bidding process, or did you just give it to Wilmer Hale?
It was a sole source contract.
Okay. Are they the only law firm in town, or why did you go just right to them?
What I would say is when we started this process of trying to understand what we were looking at and how to sort of take a global view of it, one of the questions we asked was who had worked on DEA international cases. Boyd Johnson, who I met after I had been nominated, I was introduced to him.
Did you talk to Preet Bharara about hiring Wilmer Hale?
I did not.
You did not. But that's a close friend of yours, Preet Bharara, is that correct?
Yes, and he and I worked together on Capitol Hill, and then we had a podcast together.
And one of the review's authors, Boyd Johnson, is a close associate of Preet Bharara, is that correct?
They currently work together now. At the time, I did not know Boyd Johnson. I was introduced to him by others when I was going through my confirmation process.
He has that relationship with Mr. Bharara.
And if I could, Congressman, Boyd Johnson led the International Narcotics Unit in the Southern District of New York, which is where we do the bulk of our bilateral investigations unit work.
And I see here that Jack Long, the other author of the review, apparently worked for an industry group that funded research by your mother. Is that correct?
I believe in the late 90s, my mom worked with Jack Lawn for a brief period of time. This is,
And Preet Bharara, where does he work
Congressman,
now?
may I continue?
I'm sorry, I'm short on time. Where does Preet Bharara work now?
He works in many places.
Which law firm?
He's now at WilmerHale.
And you also hired as your deputy chief of staff someone from WilmerHale as well, right?
Yes, we have someone who
Gentleman's
I've
time has
worked with
expired.
at
You may answer
NYU.
the question.
And do you think this casts doubt on the independence of this review, all of these connections between you and WilmerHale?
Congressman,
And I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. You may answer the
may I
question.
answer?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. The work that has come out of the foreign review has been transformational for DEA. We have changed the way we operate, and they have made very important recommendations to us. Number one, reduce silos between the foreign and international work that we do. Number two, increase accountability. And number three, make sure that every piece of foreign work is directed at saving American lives. And so we've already implemented a number of changes. I'd be happy to show them to you at some point in time, but I do believe very much that the value of that review has been exceptional.